Hello, my name is Sean Smith. I'm the Director of Operations here at the Muny. I want to talk today a little about a project that we have going on behind the scenes. As you all are aware, 2 years ago we completely renovated our main stage, and that was the first of many projects to overhaul basically our backstage production process. A lot of our projects up until this point, the last 10 or 15 years, have really been focused on the patron amenities, both seats, air circulation, concession stands, restrooms. Now we've taken the turn to look at what's going on behind the scenes and how to make that better. The main focus of the project is to make our spaces more efficient, better working conditions for our crews, and address a lot of our accessibility needs. With us today is Michael Byrd, Principal of Courts and Architecture, who's been with us from the start of this process and can explain a little bit more about what they came in to see when we started these discussions.
We were incredibly excited to be asked to participate in what to us is the really fun part of the Muny's big renovations for the next century. There's a tremendous amount of history in every one of these spaces, and it was really a treat to get to see the Muny operate firsthand, both during a season and then after the season closed, and to talk about all the things that happen behind the scenes to put the shows together and actually bring them to life. Seeing each space and the way it had grown over the last 100 years was just fascinating. And some of those things were very revealing about the way those spaces had been used and gave us some real cues to how to develop those spaces further to be more efficient, to allow for future growth, and to just make more exciting productions.
One of the things I think is important to note is all of everything the audience sees happens backstage. So all of the production takes place from rehearsals, building sets, and it's happening in a space that was originally built 100 years ago. We've certainly patched things together, but we've kind of got a piecemeal operation. And I think our production teams have really basically pushed the envelope of what we can do. So as we've been making a sort of to-do list over the last couple of years, we've identified several areas we wanted to address, but we really needed someone to come in and help us hold our hand to kind of piece it all together. So when Michael's team shadowed us for an entire year, and I'm sure they saw all kinds of things, and it was interesting, their feedback from us the first time, because here you have an outsider coming in and trying to help us figure out how to do things better.
The biggest challenge that we had was really understanding this sprawling nature of what it takes to put a show on at the Muny. It involves so many different people doing so many different things, and the building works as hard as the people who put the shows together. The building spaces serve multiple purposes at different times of the year. Finding out what each of them did and did well, and what they needed to do better, was really the meat of our project. So we came through, we watched everything in action, we measured, we took photographs, we learned as quickly and as deeply as possible. And I think what we came up with was a response to what the Muny needed, certainly, but also a way to honor the tradition and incredible history of all the people who've been putting these shows together for 100 years.
And joining us today is our Muny production manager, Tracy Utzmyers, who can talk a little about how these spaces are going to be used for future teams.
Thank you, Sean. Since we started talking about the renovation several years ago, one of our main goals was to not just make sure that the efforts of everybody creating the show really went into the show and not in keeping the space up, but also how much of what we do has been dictated by the space in which we create, right? So having Corten and Michael Byrd's team come on board with us and not only look at how to make the space more efficient, but also how to maybe change a few of the things that we've been doing to make the entire process more efficient has been really exciting. And we have quite a few big and small adjustments that we're going to make. One of the small ones is that our intake space and the costume shop is going to be closer to where deliveries come, which sounds like not a lot, but those 20 minutes certainly add up. 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon, that certainly adds up day after day when we're doing shows. Also, one of my favorite things is we worked with the team and figured out how to get ice and water more accessible to the ancillary rehearsal spaces that we have, so the stage management team is saving time. And then we've done bigger things too, like created a much more efficient flow for the costumes from the costume shop to the laundry room to the dressing rooms, a more efficient flow for the actors when they come to rehearsal, to have a nice space to enjoy their lunch and be together and meet other people that work at the Muny at the same time. Another thing we're really excited about is having a dedicated craft and dye room for our costume crafts. That's always, things like that we've been doing for several years, but if we've sort of found pockets of space around the campus to do them, and now we have dedicated rooms for that. We'll have a dedicated space for our brand new automation system. Another thing we're excited about is the efficiency of our artist building. The costume shop is in the basement. The dressing rooms are on the second floor. The wig shop is on the second floor right near the dressing rooms. And it's all connected by an elevator and 2 major ramps. It includes the laundry space and the craft room and the automation room, and a special space for the sound team to put the microphones on everybody. So everything's in one space. We don't have to carry things back and forth when it rains, which is our least favorite thing to do. And we're so grateful for Emerson for coming on board and helping share that vision with us and funding that project.
What our audience doesn't always realize is there are 750 to 800 seasonal employees every year backstage making these shows happen for them. So when we looked at these spaces, it was about making it more efficient, but it was also about improving the working conditions. The Muny was built at a time when honestly all of our crews are male. So certainly we have restrooms here for everyone, but almost all of them have a urinal. So we had to go back and fix those kind of things. We also were built at a time before accessibility. So we've come in, while we've certainly made some improvements on an audience standpoint, we're coming in and taking a look at those spaces, both with access to our offices, our design studios, our rehearsal halls, making sure that all of that is there for the future.
Maybe the most exciting thing about doing this project was finding all the opportunities for the cast and crew to interact during the course of putting these shows together. Finding spaces within the building where people could bump into each other and take a minute and relax. The cast and crew work incredibly hard during the hot summer in St. Louis, and finding ways to cool off and take just a minute and talk with each other really creates some great opportunities for architecture in the building, and we're really excited to see it happen. Something I found fun on doing this project was that the Muny is completely unique. There's nothing else like it anywhere. And learning how the Muny puts on a show and how the Muny takes care of its patrons was really fascinating and inspiring to see.
When these buildings were built in the late 40s, it was a time when the Muny was truly only a seasonal operation. We had a staff that worked downtown, and then they would come down here in the summer for the shows. As time has marched on, we actually utilize the space year-round. We have grown from a 12-person staff to a 35-person staff to support all of our needs, beyond just the shows, but education, development, all of that it's a different use of space than was originally imagined. So part of this process with Michael and his group was to come in and sort of not only look at the production side, but our office operation as well, and how can we better utilize space. When you look at how the backstage operation has changed, take a department like wardrobe. For years we would rent costumes out of a costume house. They would arrive here in a truck, we would prep them, and they would put on. We'd put on for the show, and then we would box them back up, and out they would go. We just don't build shows like that anymore. There aren't costume houses like that anymore. So we do so much more behind the scenes to give the audience a spectacular production. It's really about, this project is really about how do we utilize that space better, how can we be more efficient.
We cannot wait for the season 2021 to get back to theater. We can't wait to see you again, and I can't wait to see how this space inspires all of the people who work so hard as artisans to create the work that you see, for them to have a more efficient space, a cleaner space, a really beautiful space that they're going to be so proud of. It's going to show up on stage, and I can't wait for everyone to see it.
We'd certainly like to thank Core 10 for partnering with us on this endeavor. Also to Emerson, thank you for your continued support, and for all the donors out there in the Second Century campaign. We certainly couldn't have done this without you. Thank you.